That idea, how just one tiny push, like the first domino, can set off this massive chain reaction.
Yeah, it's a powerful concept.
Well, today we're diving into a source that really gets that Admiral William McRaven's book, Make Your Bed. The subtitle is Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because you hear Navy SEAL training and you think, okay, that's intense. Maybe not for everyday life.
Right. Super high stakes stuff.
But what McRaven does so well is pull out these universal truth, things that actually apply to anyone, no matter what they're doing.
Exactly. So that's our mission today. Unpack that wisdom, connect his hardcore experiences to practical things we can all use.
We're talking discipline, resilience, leadership, but drawn from, the real grit of that training, not some dry textbook.
Yeah, get ready for some actionable stuff. How small shifts can make a real difference.
Okay, so where do we start? McRaven kicks things off with something that sounds almost too simple. Make your bed.
Huh, yeah. It sounds basic. But think about the context. Those SEAL barracks, Spartan rooms.
Totally. And the standards were incredibly strict. Sheets tight, blankets folded just so, pillow aligned perfectly.
Not just tidy, inspection level perfect. Yeah. And if you failed?
Well, that's where the consequences came in. You might end up hitting the surf and becoming a sugar cookie.
Which means getting wet and sandy, right? Not pleasant.
Not pleasant at all. But the point wasn't really about a perfect bed, was it? It was the first task of the day.
Completed. Done right.
Exactly. It instills discipline from minute one, attention to detail, and, surprisingly maybe, a little bit of pride. You accomplished something.
It sets a tone. And McRaven gives examples, right? Even when he was badly injured.
Yeah, he talks about being laid up after a serious parachute accident in the hospital and still making his bed, maintaining that small bit of order and discipline.
Wow.
He even contrasted it with observing Saddam Hussein in captivity, who didn't make his bed. A small thing, maybe, but perhaps reflective.
So for us, listening, it's about finding that first small win. Doesn't have to be the bed, could be anything.
Right. Tidy your desk, answer that one email you've been avoiding, whatever it is. That first success builds momentum, gives you a feeling of control, even if the day gets chaotic later.
Okay, so start with a win. Got it. What's next? He moves from the individual to the group.
Precisely. The next big lesson. You can't go it alone. And the image he uses for this is classic SEAL training. The IBS.
The inflatable boat, the rubber raft.
Yeah, the infamous raft carry. Picture 7 guys lugging this heavy, awkward boat over dunes through cold surf for miles on end.
Exhausting just thinking about it.
Totally. And you literally can't do it alone. If one person slackens, everyone feels it. The whole crew suffers.
So it forces teamwork, mutual reliance.
Absolutely. You learn to depend on each other, to share the load. It builds this incredible bond.
And he connects this to his own life too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
After the accident.
He does. Very powerfully. He talks about that long, difficult recovery and how absolutely crucial the support was from his wife, George, and his friends.
And his boss, too, I think, Admiral Olson.
Yes, Admiral Eric Olson. There was apparently a policy that could have ended McRaven's career after such a serious injury, requiring a medical evaluation. But Olson basically advocated for him, navigated the rules, and helped keep his career on track. It shows how vital that support system is.
It's not just about physical help then. It's about people believing in you, fighting for you.
Exactly. So the takeaway is pretty clear. Build those strong relationships. Don't try to muscle through life's big challenges solo. You need your boat crew.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got individual discipline, teamwork. What about voicing limitations?
Yes. Lesson 3, only the size of your heart matters. This one really hits home, challenging assumptions.
He tells a story about a recruit, right? Smaller guy.
Yeah, a really small seaman recruit during, I think it was a life jacket inspection. The instructor, this big Vietnam vet type, basically looked him up and down and doubted him, purely based on size.
Ouch. What did the recruit say?
His response was just perfect. Defiant but simple. Prove me wrong.
Love that.
And then McRaven pairs this with another story about Lieutenant Tom Norris, a Vietnam vet, Medal of Honor recipient, but apparently didn't look like the stereotypical SEAL.
So people underestimated him too.
Initially, yeah.
Yeah.
Instructors apparently had doubts, but Norris absolutely crushed the training, became one of the most decorated SEALs ever.
So it's not about the physical package.
Not at all. It's about the determination, the grit, the resilience inside. That's what truly matters, the size of your heart.
So the message is, don't judge a book by its cover, basically. Either yourself or others.
Pretty much. Look deeper. Potential comes from character, from that inner fire, not just outward appearances.
Okay. Powerful lesson. But life isn't always about just having heart. Sometimes things just go wrong. Unfairly.
Right. And that leads directly into the next point, which can be a tough one. Life's not fair drive on.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. How does SEAL training teach that?
Remember the sugar cookie? Getting randomly ordered into the cold surf and sand.
Uh-huh. For seemingly no reason sometimes.
Exactly. It felt arbitrary, unfair. You could do everything right and still get punished. The lesson wasn't to fight it, it was to accept it and keep going. Complaining got you nowhere.
Just suck it up and drive on.
Pretty much. And McRaven tells an incredibly moving story here about Lieutenant Moki Martin.
Ah, the athlete.
Yeah, phenomenal athlete, classic SEAL.
Yeah.
But then a devastating bicycle accident.
Yeah.
Paralyzed.
Just terrible. Completely unfair.
Totally unfair. But Moki's response, that's the lesson. He didn't let it define him with bitterness. Yeah. He became a painter, a father, founded the Super Frog Triathlon.
Wow. He just drove on.
He drove on. It's an amazing example of not letting unfair circumstances dictate your life or your spirit. Accept it. Don't dwell. Focus energy on moving forward.
That takes incredible strength, which ties into the next idea, maybe, about failure.
It does. Failure can make you stronger. Reframing setbacks not as the end, but as, well, fuel.
How did they teach that? Sounds counterintuitive.
Through something called the circus.
Yeah.
If you failed any event during the day, the run, the swim, the obstacle course, you didn't just get to rest.
Oh no, what happened?
You got invited to the circus, which meant more physical training, extra push-ups, extra sit-ups, just more intense calisthenics, usually while the others were maybe getting a bit of a break.
So punishment for failing.
It felt like it, initially. But McRaven tells this great story about him and his swim buddy, Mark Thomas. They kept failing events, kept ending up in the circus.
That must have been demoralizing.
You'd think so, but they just kept pushing through the extra work. And the result, by the end, for the final, really long swim,
Let me guess.
they finished first. All that extra work, all those failures they pushed through, had actually made them stronger, more resilient.
So the failure wasn't the end, it was part of the process.
Exactly, it forged them. He even mentions getting relieved of command later in his career, a huge failure professionally, but using that sting to motivate himself and excel in his next role.
So don't fear failure, learn from it, let it build you up.
That's the core idea. See it as a stepping stone, not a stop sign. Embrace the lessons from life's circuses.
Okay, makes sense. What about taking chances? Is that encouraged?
Absolutely. The next lesson, you must dare greatly. This is about pushing past your comfort zone, taking calculated risks.
Calculated being the key word, I imagine.
For sure. He talks about an obstacle called the slide for life, basically a rope slide. The standard way down was feet first, slower, but safer.
But there was a faster way.
Head first. Much faster, but definitely riskier. He was hesitant initially.
I would be too.
Right. But another instructor, a Vietnam vet, encouraged him to go for it. He did, overcame the fear, went head first, and actually set a personal record for the obstacle.
So that small act of daring paid off.
It did. And it taught him a bigger lesson about pushing limits. He connects this to much higher stakes situations later, like a daring hostage rescue raid in Baghdad. Huge risks, but calculated for a greater goal.
He mentions the SAS motto too, right?
Who dares wins.
Exactly.
The takeaway is clear. You can't reach your full potential if you stay safely cocooned. You have to dare thoughtfully to achieve more.
Okay, dare greatly. But sometimes the obstacle isn't a rope slide, it's people. Bullies.
Ah, yes, a crucial one. Stand up to the bullies. And this isn't just about playground stuff. It's about confronting intimidation in any form.
How does this connect to SEAL training? Sharks.
Oh. Well, yeah, he mentions the infamous 4-mile night swim off San Clemente Island. Pitch black water, and yes, the knowledge that great white sharks frequented the area.
Yikes. That's some serious mental intimidation.
Definitely. The fear was real, but the desire to become a SEAL, the commitment, gave him the courage to face that fear, that potential threat, and swim anyway.
So confronting the fear, not letting it paralyze you.
Precisely. And he gives a really striking real-world example later. His interactions with Saddam Hussein after his capture.
How so?
Even as a prisoner, Hussein was apparently trying to intimidate the new Iraqi leaders, trying to maintain that aura of power through fear. McRaven saw it for what it was, a bully tactic.
And what did he do?
He took steps to isolate Hussein, strip away that ability to intimidate. The lesson being, bullies rely on fear.
Yeah.
Courage is how you dismantle their power. Don't back down.
Stand tall. Okay. Powerful stuff. What about performing under pressure? when things are really tough.
That leads to rise to the occasion, being your very best self when the chips are really down.
I imagine SEAL training has plenty of those moments.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He describes the dive phase, particularly in underwater navigation exercise, at night in murky San Diego Bay, using this notoriously difficult old diving gear called the death rig.
Sounds ominous.
It was incredibly dangerous. Disorientation was easy, equipment failure possible, and the instructor's final words before they went in were stark. Tonight, you will have to be your very best. No room for error.
Intense pressure.
Immense. But he contrasts that kind of intense, immediate pressure with a different kind of rising to the occasion. The solemn dignity of the ramp ceremonies for fallen soldiers at Bagram Air Base.
A very different kind of dark moment.
Totally different. Utter tragedy.
That's
But even in that immense grief, he witnessed incredible strength, unity, honor. People rising above the pain to support each other, to honor the fallen with dignity.
Finding strength in the darkest times.
Exactly. It shows that true character is revealed in adversity. You have to cultivate that inner strength before the tough times hit, so you're ready to rise when they do.
Which leads naturally to hope. How do you maintain hope in those situations?
That's the next beautiful lesson. Give people hope. Recognizing the incredible power of inspiration, even one person's act, in the bleakest moments.
Does he have a story for this from Hell Week? I bet he does.
Oh yeah, a classic. Trainees are neck-deep in freezing cold mud on the Tijuana mud flats. It's miserable. Hours of it. Instructors yelling, morale hitting rock bottom. People are close to quitting.
Sounds truly awful.
And then, just as it seems unbearable, one single trainee starts to sing. Out of tune, probably exhausted, but singing.
Just one guy.
Just one. And then another joins in, then another. Soon, the whole class is singing, defying the instructors, lifting their own spirits in this act of shared defiance and hope.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
Just from one person starting.
It shows a ripple effect, right? And he shares another incredibly moving example, being at Dover Air Force Base for the return of soldiers killed in a helicopter crash.
A terribly somber occasion.
Deeply. But he witnessed Marine Lieutenant General John Kelly, who had tragically lost his own son in combat, speaking to the grieving families. And Kelly wasn't offering platitudes. He was offering genuine understanding, shared experience, and through that, profound hope.
Because he truly understood their pain.
Exactly. His presence, his words, born from his own loss, gave those families a lifeline of hope. It underscores that even a single person, acting with empathy and courage, can ignite hope in others. Never underestimate that power.
Don't underestimate hope. Got it. And that brings us to the final lesson. The ultimate one.
The bedrock, really. Never, ever quit.
Sounds about right for SEAL training. Was there a symbol for quitting?
There was a brass bell located centrally in the training compound. If you wanted out, all you had to do was ring that bell.
Simple as that.
Simple act, but the instructors hammered home the message. Ring that bell, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Quitting is final.
Don't ring the bell.
Don't ring the bell. And to drive this home, McRaven tells the story of Army Ranger Adam Bates.
What happened to him?
Tragically lost both legs in an IED explosion in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
A devastating injury.
Unimaginable.
But shortly after, while still recovering, he managed to signal to his comrades, basically writing, "I will be okay."
Incredible strength.
And later, McRaven saw him, standing tall on prosthetic legs. Not just standing, but challenging people to pull up contests.
No way.
Yes, just embodying that refusal to quit, that indomitable spirit. Life throws horrific challenges, but giving up, it's just not an option you should allow yourself.
Never, ever quit. Wow. Okay, that's a lot of powerful stuff packed in there.
It really is, if we try and sort of boil it down.
Yeah, let's recap. So start with a win, make your bed, get your team, your boat crew, judge by heart, not appearance, accept unfairness, drive on.
Right. Learn from failure, let it make you stronger, dare greatly, push your limits, stand up to the bullies, face the fear.
Rise to the occasion when things get tough. Give hope to others, even just by singing in the mud.
And finally, underpinning it all, never ever quit.
It's clear these aren't just rules for elite soldiers, are they?
Not at all. They're fundamentally about how to navigate life. Small disciplines, a resilient mindset, that's how you handle difficulties and actually make a positive impact.
So the challenge for everyone listening, what's the first step?
Pick one thing. Just one. Maybe tomorrow morning you actually do make your bed with intention. Or maybe you reach out to someone who needs that boat crew support. Or face one small fear you've been avoiding.
Just start somewhere small. Feel that ripple.
Exactly. Experience it yourself. These principles work. They come from a demanding world, but the wisdom is universal.
It really drives home McRaven's core message, doesn't it? That starting small with consistent effort and spirit,
Yeah.
it really can change your life. And maybe, just maybe, ripple outwards to change the world a little bit too. So the question really is, what ripple are you going to start today?